Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive economic and strategic shift happening right now at the southern tip of India. If you follow global trade, you know this one simple truth. Infrastructure is destiny. The physical pathways that carry our goods literally dictate the speed and cost of the modern world. And today, we're looking at a project that is redrawing the map of the Indian Ocean's shipping lanes, the Vizhinjam International Seaport in Kerala. We're going to dive into the data, the geography, and the economics to figure out exactly why this engineering marvel is being called India's maritime game-changer.
All right, let's get right into the bottleneck. For decades, India's supply chain has had a huge structural flaw. Get this, his staggering 75 to 80% of India's transshipment cargo couldn't even go directly to or from India. Instead, it had to be routed through foreign ports. Imagine outsourcing 80% of your critical supply chain handling to your neighbors. Think about what that does to your efficiency. It's a massive, systemic vulnerability, and it's the exact core problem that Vizhinjam was built to solve from the ground up.
To understand how India is fixing this, we'll quickly cover India's shipping bottleneck, how transshipment works, the Vizhinjam advantage, the economic and strategic impact, and finally, the challenges on the horizon.
Section 1. India's shipping bottleneck.
Relying on foreign ports, places like Colombo in Sri Lanka, Singapore, or Jebel Ali in Dubai, was a massive economic burden. We're talking agonizingly long transit times for Indian exports and imports. Every single time cargo is unloaded and reloaded in another country, you're adding days to the journey. Plus, it meant extra handling charges, higher overall shipping expenses, and a pretty terrifying dependence on someone else's infrastructure. If a foreign port had a labor strike or a weather delay, India's economy felt the shockwave instantly. It was a high-friction, deeply inefficient system that desperately needed a domestic bypass.
Section 2. How transshipment actually works. So how do you fix this vulnerability? Well, you build a dedicated transshipment port. If you're not super deep into maritime logistics, just think of a transshipment port exactly like a massive international airport hub. When you fly from a small town in the US to a small town in Europe, you don't take a direct flight, right? You fly into a mega hub like London Heathrow, get off, and catch a regional connecting flight. In shipping, it's the exact same concept. Cargo containers are transferred from massive mother vessels to smaller feeder vessels before finally reaching their ultimate destination.
Picture this. A giant mother vessel arrives from Europe, packed with thousands of containers. It makes zero economic sense for that mammoth ship to stop at 10 different smaller ports all along the Indian coastline. The fuel and time wasted would be insane. Instead, it drops all its regional containers at one ultra-efficient deepwater hub, like Vizhinjam. Then, smaller feeder vessels take over, picking up containers destined for regional ports, like Chennai or Kochi. This hub-and-spoke model is incredibly efficient and totally eliminates the need for giant ships to squeeze into ports that just weren't built for them.
Section 3. The Vizhinjam advantage.
Now, here is a truly fascinating number for you. 10. Just 10 nautical miles. You know how they say location is everything in real estate? Well, in global shipping, Vizhinjam absolutely won the geographic lottery here. It sits a mere 10 nautical miles away from the busiest east-west international shipping route on the planet. For those massive cargo ships moving between Europe and Asia, they require almost zero deviation from their standard path to dock here. They barely have to touch the steering wheel, and that translates directly into millions of dollars in savings on voyage time and heavy marine fuel.
And that brings us to its second superpower, 18 to 20. This refers to the port's natural deep draft in meters. Most megaports worldwide have to spend a fortune on constant underwater digging, a process called dredging, just to keep the water deep enough so big ships don't run aground. But Vizhinjam, it naturally plunges 18 to 20 meters deep right off the coast. That is a massive, permanent engineering advantage. It means substantially lower daily maintenance costs, virtually no dredging expenditures, and a natural cradle ready for the largest vessels on the ocean.
Because of that incredible natural depth, this port can effortlessly handle what the maritime industry calls ultra-large container vessels, or ULCVs. We're talking about the true titans of the ocean, ships longer than 3 football fields carrying well over 18,000 standard containers at once. When you can welcome the biggest ships in the world without making them wait for high tide, you drastically bring down turnaround times and instantly secure your spot at the very center of modern global shipping.
Of course, pulling off a project of this sheer magnitude requires some intense coordination. It's powered by a massive public-private partnership. On one side, the government of Kerala handles the heavy foundational stuff, acquiring the land, building crucial road and rail links, constructing the giant stone breakwater, and handling all the regulatory approvals. On the flip side, the private partner, Adani Vizhinjam Port Private Limited, actually builds the port, brings in the massive automated cranes, runs the daily operations, and funds future expansions. It's a strategically shared load, designed to get an unbelievably complex megaproject off the ground.
Section 4. Economic and Strategic Impact. So what does this actually mean for India's economy? It is a massive pivot from high-cost foreign dependence to true strategic maritime autonomy. By routing directly through Vizhinjam, domestic logistics costs drop significantly because all those extra handling charges at foreign ports are completely eliminated. Transit times switch from being inherently delayed to vastly faster. And crucially, this newly found efficiency is a huge shot in the arm for the Make in India manufacturing initiative. When domestic manufacturers have faster, cheaper access to global markets, they instantly become more competitive on the world stage.
And the impact definitely doesn't stop at the water's edge. Think about the massive inland ripple effect. A megaport like this triggers the rapid construction of huge multimodal logistics parks and vast warehousing districts. It's injecting thousands of direct and indirect jobs into the local economy. It encourages large-scale industrial development across the entire state of Kerala, and it acts as a powerful magnet for vital foreign investment. Ultimately, by streamlining the flow of goods, it boosts the total volume of exports and imports, heavily increasing government revenue along the way.
The timeline for this project has been highly aggressive. The initial agreement was signed back in 2015 to set the groundwork. Fast forward through years of intense engineering, and commercial operations officially kicked off in December 2024. But they certainly aren't stopping there. They're targeting full export-import cargo operations by August 2026. And by 2028, the port's capacity is projected to scale up to an astonishing 5.7 million TEUs. To put that in perspective, that is millions of individual cargo containers flowing through a single node, totally reshaping regional trade dynamics.
Section 5. Challenges on the horizon.
Now, building a global megaport certainly isn't a walk in the park. We have to be objective about the real hurdles remaining here. First off, finishing critical transport links, like the national highways and rail connectivity, is absolutely essential. A port is truly only as good as the roads leading out of it. Second, carefully managing the coastal environmental impacts is a strict, ongoing necessity. Third, properly rehabilitating the local fishing communities affected by the construction remains a vital responsibility. And finally, Vizhinjam has to fight off fierce, entrenched competition from well-oiled global hubs like Colombo, Singapore, and Jebel Ali. Those ports aren't just going to surrender their market share without a serious fight.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to chew on as we watch global trade routes shift in real time. With absolutely everything it has going for it, that unbelievable 10 nautical mile proximity to shipping lanes, the 20-meter natural deep draft, and massive national backing, can Vizhinjam truly outpace those established giants to become the new king of the Indian Ocean? It is going to be incredibly fascinating to watch this unfold over the next few years. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep an eye on the horizon and keep learning.